ESL presents ESL Challenger League in partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
Hello gamers, welcome into the ECL Grand Final here, Cup number 3 of Season 51, and it is Europe, of course, just to give you the full rundown of where we're at, in case you are a bit surprised by the Counter-Strike, but I doubt that at this stage, towards the very tail end. It is going to be myself, Scriv, and Neokai to walk you through the action for this one, of course. And looking forward to getting into this, we've got the heavy favourite, the overdog of this cup in Johnny Speeds up against eLITenergy, which I think when you look across the crop of other teams, you wouldn't necessarily have expected this one to make it all the way to the grand final, and yet they have here tonight now.
Yeah, I mean, this is generally one of the kind of, especially with these cups, a big overdog versus a massive underdog coming in towards this. Because generally speaking, like, teams like your Quentries, maybe even your Manas, Unities, you can even throw in a TNC, like, they all had, on paper, a higher chance. Like, this eLITenergy side, like, we were kind of talking about it when we got to cast them. We've not seen this side. We don't know anything about them, really. They're a complete unknown quantity, and they've done so well to get to this spot. This is the prize pool, of course, a total of $25,000, $12,000 to first place. But the main thing they're fighting for, of course, in this competition is you win this cup and you book yourself a spot in towards that Season 51 EU finals. Winner of those finals books their spot to Pro League. And for these Tier 2 sides, that is the world.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is the big deal and the thing that they are indeed chasing moving forwards, and particularly I think for a team like eLITenergy, you're in a really good spot to maybe start stealing away VRS and boosting yourself up and actually becoming a team in the conversation. We'll have to see. The big one for us was last night against Quentry, of course. Managing to get that game comes through as a pretty big surprise, I think it's safe to say, probably for themselves as well.
Yeah.
It does seem, you know, Quentry got in their own heads a little bit and they weren't quite in the correct headspace, but the tilt letting them down, some questionable economic decisions and things. But in the same vein, eLITenergy were able to play pretty well. It was quite tough for them, but they were still able to play well, and they had some pretty good individual performances, particularly from Keegan as well last night.
Yes, I agree, and he was somebody who I didn't really know what to expect with the AWP. Looked super sharp and super clean. And yeah, I think the Quentry that were kicking themselves because, you know, we look at this side, you know, knocked towards the lower bracket by Johnny Speeds. It's sort of to be expected. Like, it's not exactly out of the norm there. But it's just the fact that following that, then you fall flat to eLITenergy side, which on paper every day of the week, you shouldn't have that many issues with. So I definitely think they're going to be, you know, potentially a little bit tilted with themselves, a little bit annoyed in the way in which they let it slip. And yeah, I'll be quite keen to kind of see now for eLITenergy, can they utilize that to further sort of successes for them, right? You know, already put themselves into a great spot just making it towards the top 2, but you now give yourself a fantastic opportunity to go back-to-back in huge upsets, and doing it here and now would be, I mean, it'd be massive, right? Johnny Speeds are such a titan of a side in the Tier 2 and Tier 3.
Yeah, no, it is very true. It is very true. I think this is sort of the final boss, ultimately, for a team like eLITenergy, who've kind of continually overperformed. I'm just looking at some of the teams that they've beaten. You know, we've got TNC in here, but that's a 3-mapper. Quasar also, they're around the same kind of rank. So that's maybe where it starts getting a little bit better. But they also survived for a little while in the upper bracket side of things, it felt like. And then you've got like Just Players, Ents Academy. You know, these are teams with, again, squads and names on there that you just don't quite recognize. I think even guys like us that are very much ear to the ground and be like, oh, I might know this one guy, or I might know the name of the team that they played on, but not necessarily the entire team. So eLITenergy have done very well to just sort of thread their way through, getting big wins here and there where they need to, and playing very well while doing so. I just think that Johnny Speeds are kind of this level above. Not only are we on this not dropped a map yet. I think you can also have a little look down. The way in which they've been winning a lot of those 2-0s are very, very easy, I think, for them, to be honest.
Yes.
And this is probably a bit more of that. Hopefully the game against Quentry last night has woken Johnny Speeds up a bit to be like, okay, we can't be caught off and we can't underestimate them. They've got a lot of very aggressive, very skilled players, which just feels like such a big trend at the moment, is like all these super mechanically heavy teams and players that are really tearing up the like tier 3 at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think Johnny Speed's just got to be aware of that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. Like, if they come in towards this playing to the level that they can, they should fundamentally have kind of no issues. We know, just how strong this Johnny Speed side can be and kind of should be as well. But it is the fact that if they kind of approach this game by, in a sense, I think, coming in a little bit too confident. There's so much talent on this team, though. There's so much experience, too. The likes of kind of your Lekros and your Norks, who've been playing for such a long time, of course, especially Lekro. But even then around there, like Sapek, Heap, and Yokab have had their fair share of experience in the tier 2. So none of these guys are strangers to playing off against such a variety of competition now. And as we head in towards this sort of a game, we speak about them being that heavy favorite, but a lot of it comes down to not just the firepower, but I think mainly it's the synergy, it's the cohesion, it is those things of experience. Like, this side are incredible. I mean, in this tournament alone, in this cup, they have not dropped a map. They've coasted through, and realistically, all expectations, they do more the same here in this final.
Yeah, no, very much so. I think in full agreement. That is just going to be the narrative. That has been the narrative for this one, that Johnny Speeds have managed to work their way in. It's a cup that, as we kind of talked about, it's a cup that falls at a very good time.
Yes.
In the sense that we have a lot of like VRS tournaments going on, VRS chasing for some of the more top-end teams within the tier 2 space. Maybe a couple of them have already secured their position in the regional final, they feel, etc. So yeah, the next cup is going to have a lot of big teams in for sure.
Yeah.
But this one is the opportunity to just kind of capitalize on the timing of everything. We got eLITenergy on the other side, though. Again, a team that we have touched on and talked about, covered them yesterday. A lot of young players, a lot of unknown players. They do seem to have a bit of seriousness about them, in the sense that they're running with a coach, which for their rank is a little bit rarer, I think. When you get outside the top 100, you got a lot of teams that just don't really have a coach. But they do have a couple of names in here. Koz is a guy on Nuclear Tigers in the past, before they really picked up and started taking names. And then Keegan as well looked very good on the eye test last night, and has had a few series that have gone well. But as a complete package, I think this surely has to be the end of the road, or if they do take it, a very, very tough win, I would say.
Yes, yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, yeah, I think, Kosa's, from on paper, the general name that we look at. I did think Kissel had some decent moments for me. Like, he felt like a fairly solid guy at a standpoint. But I think it's that guy that you brought up earlier, Keegan, right? This all head-to-head heading in towards this game. Really quite spicy, to be perfectly honest, between these two. We've got Nork and Keegan for exactly that reason as our head-to-heads to watch into this, because they are both going to bring a hell of a lot in terms of kind of, the firepower, but also I think the big thing that makes these two actually so important is not only just the kills they put on the board. I think they're fantastic supporting elements, and the youthful use is just pretty excellent.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be in agreement. I think there's a lot of kind of extracurricular things, and it does feel, on the Nork side of things, that Johnny Speeds have picked up quite a bit since adding him in. Also, the engine room, as I like to call it, behind them, Freiburg as well, seems to have just, those two guys, they came in around the same time, if I'm thinking correctly here, and ultimately, so 2 months and a month, which is not a lot of time, to be fair, but it does just feel in that space of time, let's call it 6 weeks, they have had a major boost to their game on the Johnny Speed side of things, and I think could be a genuine contender for the Singapore major, and that VRS chase, as it were, which seemingly is not going to be quite as cutthroat, because we have had it announced just today that the cutoff for that is quite close to the major itself, so you can kind of get yourself in a much more solidified position, I think, which allows you a few more lands and whatnot. So yeah, Johnny Speeds, if you're into your tier 2 Counter-Strike, definitely a team to be watching over the next few months. We do have this veto coming out here as we get into those regular bans. There's a lot of options for a team like Johnny Speeds, another thing that really benefits them at the moment is just that 7 map pool and how many different maps they are playing to an effective level as well. The Inferno pickup, the Overpass pickup is kind of a little curious to me, I think, because eLITenergy had a pretty good showing on it last night. And then the D2 coming out as a decider is a pretty rough decider. So, I don't know, veto-wise on paper, it does feel like Johnny Speed's light punish pick, going into their opponent's strength, and then a shaky decider as well. So this is, I don't know, I maybe would have liked to see the Anubis curveball or perhaps the Ancient, where their level is going to be much higher. I don't know. What are you making of it?
No, I agree. I feel like I think one of the things that when you look at these two sort of a bit of a head-to-head, right, the big thing is just that Johnny Speeds have a lot more experience and a lot more, I guess, like depth, you want to say, or range to kind of use this veto in the way that they want. And well, unfortunately, kind of the spot that they're in now is that it felt like it is maybe given opportunities. I think fundamentally, though, if you're like to Johnny Speeds, you obviously would have had a bit of time to look in towards the prep work. eLITenergy got a lot of time to look in towards what you can bring to the table. But it is one of these things where it's fundamentally all expectations that you kind of just play to your own strengths, you play to your own ability with this sort of knowledge of for Johnny Speeds, and that's the hope that they bring into this is like, we're better. Like let's not stress about this. Let's not kind of take too much attention away from this. We are the better side here. Doesn't matter what map we play or how we play it. We're going to prove why, and well, let's find out. We're on the way in towards our grand final here. And I'm very, very excited for this game. I think it has all the makings to be quite a spicy one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we are both on that page, to be fair. And there's an awful lot of potential for things to get interesting. There is also decent potential for Johnny Speeds to just 13-3, 13-5. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they certainly have that in them. It just depends on how eLITenergy look. And Cos has started off well. Crisp headshot to kick it off. He is the only defender on A, though. They'd really banked on a B hit. And I think with just a 1-for-1, it's not quite going to be enough. This bomb goes down. There's Julie's, but it's, man, the smoke that gets in the way, you know. They've got their own smoke out. I like the idea. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be enough to help things out. The Glocks are just far too effective at this range. And the crossfire, impenetrable, as they will all go down. Only a couple kills stemmed out from that Johnny Speed side.
Yeah, honestly, quite beautiful work there. What a, you know, a way to start. A bit of a statement round. They just step up a bit of tempo. And there is a world in which this is how this game kind of pans out. To be honest, like, you know, you kind of touched on it. There's a world it could be 13-3, 13-3, because this is the level that Johnny Speeds can play at. And if they want to kind of disregard their opponent and play with this sort of brazen confidence, they can. You know, they're also a side that if they do start to get tested and get put under pressure, they're obviously going to be able to tap into another level. But until they get forced to, there's no need to be that stressed about how you're playing things, right? You know, flying towards these fights, prove that you're the better side just by brute force, and that's what they do.
Really util out here. Just try and shake them off. Yeah, I was going to say, we've got some good nade positions. Only one HE, though. Could have been a lovely airstrike type move, but I don't like the feeling of the B-bomb site at the moment. So with, like, no information other than that one HE, they are going to fully back away and look for the A hit. Johnny Speeds playing things pretty patiently here in the early stage.
It's been set up. Moto smoke. We'll come through in a second to give them space to scale. It's the library and Archer's cross smoke, and that actually leaves Moto open itself to allow him to pop through. It's Apec gonna fly with that Mach 10 off his own pop flash. 5-7 on net one, but a quick trade will come through from Nork. Now they move into an MTA site.
Yeah, making it look easy at the minute and just being very, very careful. eLITenergy, look, it's early,
yeah,
but already leaning on like massive gimmicks and trying to just perplex their opponent. I don't think it's going to work the entire way through, and it could just be ideas for the early rounds, but I think it just speaks to like what their core foundation is, that it's like they're a bit cheesy, they're a bit confusing, and they are great fraggers, but I just find it's how a lot of these like tier 3 teams like to play, that it's here's the rule book, here's how we're supposed to play, quote-unquote, top-level Counter-Strike, and they just circumvent that, you know, and really try and be confusing. Something that comes into maybe like the Paravision conversation.
Yeah.
Been seeing that a couple times. It's like, oh, they have way more success against the top 10 than they do 15 to 30 or whatever it is. And I think part of it is because the IGLs are a little less readable. And I think eLITenergy are that exact same argument, just way further down. So, you know, imagine that same argument, but like times 10.
Yes.
And Johnny Speeds just have to be careful not to get caught off by it.
And realistically, with a side like eLITenergy as well, there just isn't, like, a lot you can do in terms of prep work. Like, they ultimately don't play a lot of Counter-Strike. Like, they've played this COP, and granted, obviously has some good results and some pretty scary wins under their belt. But, you know, fundamentally speaking, like, they just don't play nearly, you know, they don't play 50% of the amount of the CS that Johnny Speeds play, and the variety of tournaments and the experience on LAN and all the rest. So, just one of those that, like you mentioned, it's like it's harder for this prep to come through. How Heat doesn't get a kill there, I have no idea.
Yeah, kind of wild. They've actually done quite a lot of damage here. So, gonna be a tough one for Johnny Speeds, I would say. Mac 10 retrieved. Take a little bit of bullet of damage, but ultimately, an upgraded weapon, the automatic weapon, is always scary. And yeah, they just look pretty healthy, pretty comfortable. Johnny Speeds, I'm not sure. They've really got to struggle to get back into this. And another smoking banana there.
I love this little double stack, though. It can be really quite scary. And the molly's not going to go to kind of bounce back to sandbags. It's going to go for corner wall itself. That is a fantastic flash. Sapek for one. They're diving through, and Lekro again another. Great aggression, but there's still two more towards this back B site. Look at the time here, 25 seconds. This could be funky. The bomb caught on the cross. Keegan will get spammed down. They surely do not expect a second. Now they do, man. And it might be too late. Look at that bomb spilled. Oh, another shot. It's all on Yokab. 1 versus 2 for him. He's trying to desperately bail them out. Look at the time, though. 5 seconds. Impossible. They steal a way around there.
Yeah, and it's good def, man, in the perfect position. And again, the gimmicks, you know, just hiding out, fully baiting his teammates. It works for him. It absolutely works for him. They just do not check their angles. Slight bit of laziness from Johnny Speeds, but then also panic. You might argue, you know, not a lot of time. Your brain goes into that fight or flight of like, do I have time to be checking these? I need to get the bomb back. I need to get the bomb planted, even. Yeah, and they will be kicking themselves in a big way. It comes at like the worst possible time as well, right? Because look at where the cash is at for the CTs. Such an injection for these players. They get the AWP out as well. So you're going to have an incredibly hard follow-up round to try and shut down your opponents here. And Johnny Speed's getting a taste of it. A taste of what the eLITenergy boys are capable of when that chaos works in their favor.
Yeah, we'll keep saying that. They've just got these gimmicks that they can fall back on that are going to net them rounds here and there that'll ultimately just break momentum, I think, more than anything. Yeah, it's a great one to find, though. Credit to them. Feels like for the early portion of this game, this is in that territory of kind of must-win, really. Like, the round lost here, and it's a pretty amazing kind of runway to work with for eLITenergy. They're not full commit. Build-up tends to go towards B. Early bits of util, bit of control as well. Bomb is loose in that direction, but they are going to pull away.
Keegan chilling in the right place. There is light rotation towards A. Timing could work out nicely here. They're trying to bait the AWP. Oh! And I guess they do. He's missed a walking target. That's certainly awkward, but second and third time of asking looks a hell of a lot better. Yokab finds himself alone. All of a sudden, Nork was that supportive element, throwing the utility. We'll take another one down, but the initial hit just doesn't work out. It's Cos and Keegan who will hold the line.
Okay. Hide all square, like we said, that Losing that round for Johnny Speed is going to have a pretty scary knock-on effect, and as we can see, that is the case. Money is all but non-existent. Got a Deagle and got a Tech 9. A round like this, a kill or two in a bomb plant, honestly would be considered a success. Taking the round itself, highly unlikely. So eLITenergy out the gates. Again, I'm impressed. I didn't really know what to expect yesterday, and they obviously played some fantastic CS, especially towards that decider, and well, we're kind of seeing it once again. It feels like there's maybe a bit of a higher ceiling than initially expected, let's say, for this side.
Oh, he's so good with it, man. He's definitely one to watch.
Yeah.
I think this guy could be very, very dangerous in this series. They have to be careful of him. They really do. I think they maybe have a read, though, from just the follow-up force buy round. You see them trying to bait out the AWP shot early. Maybe try that a bit harder. I think a very quick read on this team is that they are going to get Keegan in advanced positions to be that first contact. And that's the way he likes to play it, you know? Like, take first contact, drop back, get you to chase after him, and then he can get those really quick fadeaway shots around corners and things. So, yeah, just dealing with him initially and expecting him at every turn, probably the way to do it against this CT side.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, well. God, it spams not far off. Somehow he's coming out worse for wear. I feel like his crosshair is mere millimeters away, and a few different players, Finn and Koss, combined well. I mean, he's still stuck, but he's actually given the luxury of getting out.
But now they're unsure. Even though they're a man ahead, they are unsure. And this B-bomb site is very weak in terms of the HP bars.
The boost is always scary, though. It's always scary.
It's true. It depends on... We've done our homework with smokes. That would be a no. Just the straight eyeballed CT smoke is kind of wild, and he's like probably got real. Like the he's probably got the perfect angle up there. However, maybe it is a bit intentional because they can creep round the edge of it. Okay, wait a minute. I take it back. They worked that out slightly, or at least worked with the parameters that they had. They contact in, and I guess one of the things there is like, you eyeball that smoke, you're way further forward than usual. I think all those really cool lineups that bounce onto the boost spot, you need to be doing them like halfway up banana, you know? So it's quite far back.
Yeah.
Maybe that does throw off the sense of timing a little bit, but they managed to creep out and creep under the boost. Pretty nice.
Yeah, great work. It's definitely a more aggressive stance to have in terms of an execute. Like, I think you're spot on, right? When you are throwing those sort of pre-made ones that bounce up onto his plant pot, you have to do it from basically wood on banana, and you're then hoping somebody else is entering, but util player can be part of the pack, which is always nice to have. Fewer numbers to rally forward. And then also just like that due diligence to check, right? There's this sort of the issue that we saw with the round squandered earlier, you know, against that kind of lesser buy, round number 3, which they, you know, they just didn't check all the corners because they didn't have time, but that gave them a bit more time. Real hide square here, and I mean, it's still really hard to predict, to be perfectly honest. And money's still absolutely fine for eLITenergy because of, you know, the way in which they kickstarted their CT side. Like, it just gave them that perfect springboard to build up so much econ early.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. They're still definitely in a good spot. And I think very quickly here, Johnny Speeds is not the best map in the pool. It probably is like the one... I wouldn't say... Yeah, probably like the one map that eLITenergy could have gone towards here to punish them. The Duster would be a bit too risky. But even then, I think Johnny Speed should still have the upper hand. They're maybe just understanding what it is that they're going to be up against. They're pulling out a slightly higher level and a few change-ups themselves, actually. Coffin left open, weird timings on the smokes. Also being very unpredictable themselves, which I think is quite clever. Good flash here! Bad spray down. It's a team kill, though, to get it done, and that chaos might just have done enough. They're all over the place after the team kill. Down to Yokab 1 versus 3. He's got loose information. And a little jumpy as he shoots the dead body, but he goes straight through the smoke after picking the bomb up here, and he's just about got enough time to get the bomb down on A, so this could work. It's a very doable clutch now.
Bomb. Where's it going to be planted? Nice and safe. It's a shame he doesn't have a smoke. Just a flash for him. Here's a step. We'll poke his head up. Now. Oh, and lines them up as well. Cheeky from Yokab. They make his life too easy, though. They line up right there for him. And he bails out. The Swedes from what was looking like a shaky, shaky spot.
Crazy. Crazy stuff. I mean, showing a little bit of their own individuality with a round like that, you know? This is the guy that everybody talks about. And indeed, proving his prowess. A little quiet before that, but does very well. I think things are starting to look pretty improved for Johnny Speeds. Yeah, maybe having to, like, lean in and find a slightly better level than perhaps they were expecting, but they're still able to do that. Finn with a double spray down. Oh, and it's good depth that pushes forwards. Crept under there. Yokab was maybe meant to be the man watching for him, but unfortunately it doesn't happen. So after a big clutch round coming in, Johnny Speeds will let the next one slip, and eLITenergy still keeping up with them.
Yeah, that's a sort of a real problem there. It's like, you have one really nice round, and you just get destroyed there. Only a couple of casualties. It's just not good enough. Hide. Again. For a piece. But it's the fact that every time this keeps getting tied up, it's breaking that T-side economy. What we're seeing now. Only is flat in round number 9. And already the opening double come through. Simple stuff. One with the MP7, one with the AWP. Good money as well for that MP7. No complaints about that. And maybe about the lack of movement might be the old attack pause about attack pause, especially because Lekra is still in spawn.
Yeah, valid. Dragging it out. And indeed, probably chatting things over. You got two players just sat at T stairs. It doesn't take a lot of effort, really. Oh. Little toe spotted there, I think. Yeah, definitely now. So Kissel in the perfect anti-eco spot here. Looking for a bit more. Flash comes in. Oh, blinds the one at the back, but not the front. He runs out of ammo. And there you go. There's your one kill that you're looking for in a round like this. 5th rolls in, as eLITenergy will take the lead. And even this kind of a conversation, I think, was somewhat unexpected so early on. They've done very, very well here to keep up.
No, agreed. They keep sort of overperforming by sort of the standards that maybe I'm expecting of them, just being a bit more of an unknown quantity. Like, I keep getting quite sort of pleasantly surprised. Just, you know, we even slightly joked about it. Like, there's a real world. It could be that 13-3 across both maps, but yeah, no, not the case. Like, there's a real world eLITenergy can take this map. Their map pick, and so far, happy to go toe-to-toe and reading in towards the side well. Flash is nice. Finn spams again, but he can't net the kill with him with the fire down. He's so lucky to get out alive.
He's done that quite a lot, to be honest. I feel on both sides of the banana equation, there's been lots of very close kills that really could have swung rounds, but yeah, they seem to just survive by the skin of their teeth. What is the wave here? Johnny Speed's been enjoying the early banana presence into a later A presence. It's unfortunate Yokab didn't quite have his crosshair set and does go down. So not only is it a 5-on-4, but Keeper Nork are one bullet away from death. They don't feel confident in the A hit, though. They've rotated one player back towards B, and now it's the AWP. Totally caught. They misread this one.
Yeah.
Like, perfectly, you know, the worst possible way to predict it. And they will pay the price. That's a save coming out for the B-boys, and it felt good initially for eLITenergy, but yeah, just a random pivot that they just completely misread.
And I wonder where the miscom even comes from. Like, it felt quite sudden, right? It was like, right, this is where we're falling back. And maybe this is even sort of like a slight overcook or an overread of a situation where they're like, okay, this is how they like to default. In spots like this where it gets late, they're going to want to default towards this B site. So therefore, we're just going to bring our numbers over. But it ends up being a bit of a throwaway for Nort. And that being said, tied game once again. 5 apiece. It feels like going in towards that halfway mark at an even scoreline is super deserving. Like, there's nothing that really seems to split these two sides. I don't know if that'd be the case for the series, because we speak a lot about the depth of kind of the veto process for Johnny Speeds and their choices that they can go into, but I think as a whole, eLITenergy are showing that, at least mechanically, they can keep up. The final 2 rounds to be played out here. Still absolutely anybody's game.
Yeah, for sure. Which is great. It's kind of what we wanted. I think in the back of my mind, I was expecting it to be a quick day at the office here in favor of Johnny Speeds, but it's just not the case. So eLITenergy really on a fairy tale run, it feels like, in this particular cup at least, and hopefully a team that we get to see a bit more of within the tier 2 circuit. See if it keeps up, of course. Great flash. Oh, team damage, but they get the kill. Good def around the corner, slightly awkward spot, trying to fake them out with the smoke that he's holding that usual angle, but he has, of course, changed up a little here. Nice crossfire with Cos. They have stagnated. They have hit a wall on that T side, and in fact, they decide to pull away and go back towards B, leaving Yokab in the apartments, and Lekro as well, actually. So really clever stuff. The bomb bails on the B idea as I look at the minimap, so they're really playing loose, but also very, very predictive of how eLITenergy are going to respond.
.30 seconds. Molly in towards Pip. Cost forced out in towards Yokab, and that'll open up the A bomb site. And I think, again, you know, just being realistic, all you can do with your Kissel and Finn in a spot like this, keep hold of the weapon, especially the AK-47. They have money to buy, it's no issues. I mean, Kissel technically even dropped Keegan and AWP in that next round too.
Does just feel it's gotten all of a sudden very one-sided in some of these rounds. You know, the Johnny Speeds on the comeback and sometimes struggling to close out a round, but they've adapted. I think they've got the download, we might say, on their opponents. And yeah, the past couple rifle rounds have just been no contest at all. So scary that this might continue. And I am very interested to see what the CT side looks like. I think the eLITenergy, theirs has been pretty samey every round, you know, again, leaning on the individuals, fair enough, but they've not necessarily mixed up the setups, mixed up the aggression. I've seen a lot of apartments presence from them, and I just think Johnny Speeds are going to have a lot more in the locker in that sense.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Oh, I'm around a plate. Dog. Waiting for an overswing, but actually, that util, they're forced to play a little further back. The initial banana presence was pretty aggressive, and the rain back in. As far from a commitment either. You keep in heap here is. I have to check that. Molly won't spread until the sandbags player. So actually, these two players up close towards banana could do a lot here. He spots both, and he can't do anything.
Yeah, nothing going to happen against a setup like that, to be honest. And it has very quickly driven Johnny Speeds back to A. Smoke's come over the top here. Again, slow going from Johnny Speeds. 30 seconds left on the clock. It's another unlikely angle. Cos does find success. Finn in the corner. Not going to be expected. They're a bit desperate. 4 waves back into the round. Kissel does get taken out. It's Yokab with another crazy clutch situation here. This one not looking too likely. He's got to win it, right? One plant will come in, or will it, to be honest? Yeah, they've got the better of him here. He does get the plant, but just absolutely securing that kill is Finn. It will be 6-6 at the turn of the half. So really well done from eLITenergy to keep it close and competitive. They come back into it after dropping a couple rounds. It's like, oh, here we go. This is Johnny Speeds about to take over the game. But eLITenergy always keeping themselves in the running and looking very, very good while doing so. I am impressed thus far. It depends on how things go into the second half, and it will be a half-on-half, map-on-map conversation about this team. Johnny Speeds have got to do something more to impress us in this second half.
Welcome back in. It is a very interesting first map of play. Half the expectation in our minds as we were coming towards this first map, and it would be a pretty standard Johnny Speeds win, right? Them being the heavy favourites in this game, and they will play like it. But it's actually been anything but. We are tied square with eLITenergy having some really, really nice moments in this first half on that CT side. and it becomes very difficult to predict heading in towards this second half. This is eLITenergy's map pick, and I saw some really nice moments. We are in potentially a kind of a scary prospect. Also, I find it quite interesting that for your opponent's map pick, Johnny Speeds decided to start T side. So they now get what is generally considered the more favored side here in towards this second half. Maybe that was part of the plan, but the first half, can't even split the difference.
No, it is true. It is true, and yeah, I'm very, like I said at the turn of the half, interested to see how this second half will pan out, because I think eLITenergy have shown that they can match, that they have some decent setups, they have some, you know, nice spots and whatnot. We saw a lot of angles like that just getting overlooked by Johnny Speeds, who are maybe expecting to come in this evening, play their basic game, and just be able to outshoot their opponents. It's a very fair argument, but it's just not quite happened, at least on this map. It does come in as one of the lesser comfortable maps for Johnny Speeds. So we'll see, you know, if that is going to be the case on the Overpass, but it's been tougher work. Sometimes we say those CT sides can put up a really solid wall, and I think that we might get that here. But time going to tell. Action at the top end of Banana. Utility raining on in. Nice little flash of smoke as well to slow them down. And the CT's not afraid to take the fight to that eLITenergy side. Heap's done well from the back end of the site, somehow surviving. Eventually goes down, but has to have done enough. And he has indeed. They will deal a triple kill from Heap.
Great way to start things. Now it's about building upon that. We put yourself in a really decent spot. You know, you're kind of quite immediately out the gates here with some confidence to fall back on. That's the sort of round that is going to help you reignite the flame a little bit after what wasn't a bad first half, but I think by their standards, probably expecting a little bit more. Wipe. Get a hero AK forecast. But outside of that, no real buy to work with.
Orc on this corner. They try and boost up. That's going to have been heard, though, the drop down. It's a lovely find. Again, just able to use those sharpshooters to pick up the first. Maybe an overface from Yokab. Not expecting the AK, you might argue. Left him a bit panicked, though. They very quickly rotate back towards B, and they catch this bomb site. A man down. It does get weird. They just don't slow down. Heap completely falling. There's no smoke on the CT, and Johnny Speed's getting caught off. Again, a lot of teams getting caught by this. Just the simplicity of it all. You know, they get a kill on A. They're immediately going back towards B. They are charging up Banana. They're not bothered, right? They're not taking a second to line up the smoke or to line up the flash. And I think that's what, like, Heap, for example, was expecting. He's like, okay, I've got a second or two here while they get that flash out, while they take a minute. But they just did not stop for anything. And he gets completely flustered, as does his teammate on the site as well. So this is what's going to happen. And this is what Johnny Speeds have got to be very careful of. It's like, it is as simple as it looks. Like, there's really no trying to pull the wool over your eyes or anything like that. It's just very, very basic and very effective.
Terrorists win.
Alright, let's see. Johnny Speeds with a pretty hefty response. Pretty good buy. I think they definitely could do something with this.
Yeah.
And they've got a game plan. 4 on B to kick off.
You can just see, like, with this Johnny Speed side, like, it's a few small errors that really seem to compound for them. And I think the unfortunate thing of kind of where we're at with this side is, like, maybe against, like, a little bit more of, like, a I don't want to say like in a bad way, but like a more formulated like tier 2 side. Like, even you touched on that previous round, right? It's like, you know, generally speaking, when that smoke gets thrown, like, you feel like you have, like, you know, half a second to work with to set yourself up before the initial take comes through. But it's just not how eLITENERGY play. Like, they're like, all right, cool. This is space. Take it immediately. Hold W. Let's get that. Use this kill as, you know, the catalyst to this round. And I think maybe Johnny Speeds are kind of like, I feel like for them, they need to be playing this a tad bit more puggier for my liking. Like, take a fight a little bit more to this eLITENERGY side. At the moment, this sort of what they'd expect out of like a normal tier 2 team is it's just not how they're playing. Anyway, they're diving in towards A. Lekker's here. Very lucky not to get a second.
No, that is true, but might have set them up. Thinking about the save?
Wow.
Oh, boys, yeah.
God,
I mean,
Inferno,
I think...
man.
I know, I guess, but, like, it's just so caught off. They might... No, okay. I thought maybe they were going for, like, some crazy reposition, and then, you know, Sapek was holding long so they could actually get in, but, yeah, I don't know... I don't know what to say with it, really. I think eLITENERGY are just catching them off. We'll look to save in the corner of pit here, which they just about managed to get done. They will be looking to try and really solidify this lead now, bringing it up to an 8-7, looking good while doing so. And yeah, Johnny Speed's just very panicked in places.
Yeah, and potentially, again, that kind of like a little bit too much of a show of respect. Not even giving it a tiny look in. But I guess they have no long-term econ, so I can sort of see both sides of Johnny Speeds. Like, for them, they're just saying, like, we don't have no money to work with because of the reinvest that we've had to bring to the table here. So essentially, we'll go for a second attempt. And just try this fourth line once again. I was hoping that Sapek, he looked like he was tempted to stick around a little bit. Like, for him, maybe just see if he could pick yourself up a gun. Even he cancelled on that idea. Three towards B. He was first contact. Sapek's anti. Yokab's blocking the smoke. He's got a gap to work with above, but again, like, Bomb is far from committed here.
Needs that. Clear the right. Nothing really being shown. Maybe a fake out of B, but the bomb is left at the bottom of Banana. Molly comes in. Not really much that can be done. Kissel, they're sending him in. He will go down pretty easily. Not quite. The idea behind that kind of sells the fact that you're going to players are going to be ready. They're on a pretty crossfire here as well. I just think it's totally unbeatable without a slow build-up, without flashes and mollies to back it, which they just left anymore. Toss comes in from the side. They will eliminate the side player. They will get that bomb down, but overall a 2 versus 5 for these boys to win. And they're just so far away from good spots. Keegan caught on the reload. Maybe makes work of 5-7, nearly lets him down. A big round for Johnny Speeds to be taking. They do bring it close in the end.
It's actually not a bad effort. I thought the round was all but a write-off by kind of the initial start, but fair play. With that being said, now maybe a chance to start fighting back a little bit. You even hear the fact that Keegan gets one and then very nearly gets the reload off. Close but not to be. 8 apiece. A pretty huge swing run as well. Primarily off the back of it being made so expensive despite the win for Johnny Speeds. But winner of this round essentially should get themselves up to a 10-8 scoreline. With that 10th being a bit of a freebie. Money being broken and whatnot. tiny bit of residual cash towards the eLITenergy side, which they could maybe fall back on, but a lot of this comes off the back of can they get a bomb plant.
That's a fair question. I don't know, man. It's one of the things, though, that they just have to be careful. eLITenergy, I think you very quickly have to pull a timeout. I think they could get figured out faster than they expect. Yocab in a tough spot as well to get one, honestly. Jumped before the nades, jumped early. We'll look to try and keep them at bay. It's a wrap towards long that's definitely been heard. It's being watched by Lecro. But he has to be careful himself. Goes down far too easily for my money. And Nork put under severe threat. I don't know. AWP in the site itself. There's a few things here from Johnny Speeds, man. Mistakes. Flustered. Caught off. However you want to put it, they certainly do look shaky.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. eLITenergy. No holds barred in the way they're playing. Save of an AK and an M4. And they will be given that luxury. There's kind of a loose look in through second mid, but they're not going to wrap. With that being said, another round taken back by eLITenergy. This back and forth is how it's been building up. It still remains very impressive from this T-side. Their map pick, they've obviously got really nice protocols towards Inferno. Timeouts to be taken here.
I think fair enough. Definitely needed. Am I crazy? Have they done all 3 timeouts together or something?
Yeah, I just see it's like 110 seconds or whatever.
Yeah,
I think
this time I'm just bugging.
Bugged, yeah.
I'm not quite sure what to say, but maybe they have. Maybe they've just stacked all of their timeouts together. I'm not quite sure. Seems that way. We're not getting back into it, so... oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
so it's technically a tech that's maybe just been a bit confused with the...
tech, but with the
timeout.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff, so... Fair enough. We have got a player DC'd as well.
Yeah. Issel, where art thou? Just when things are going really well. But, nonetheless, still super impressive. Everybody wants his back in as well. Expect more of the same coming through from the eLITenergy side. I still just feel like they're playing CS just a couple of rungs higher than Johnny Speeds at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there is a world here in which they're just kind of looking at it that it's like they're expecting a bit more. They're expecting, you know, a wild run or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or that it's like, oh, they're going to stop now and throw a bit more utility. And it's just, it is what it seems. And Johnny Speeds have got to stop getting caught off by that. Seems like we're back into things here as everyone's reconnected. And the timer ticking down. But, yeah, I think Johnny Speeds just really need to get out of their own heads. They look very flustered to be like, oh, should I move here? Should I? You know, and they just really are a bit confused. And maybe a stronger stance in the initial setups. Trying some mid-aggression here. Fire with fire and 1-for-1 is probably the best you could hope for.
Wow. For now. Looking to hold. On long corner. He still needs to stay up here because they're going to play too roughly towards the site. Hold call, I believe Heap alone, but then also a hold call for Kissel to dive through that smoke. Oh, he gets caught in transition of the reload. He's in back towards site. He doesn't have a smoke to slow them down is the real issue. The flash over is fantastic, and he does make the most of it with a kill. Nade will come round. He's looking for more. It's a pistol of Keegan, which he does so well on. And Nork will trade out Heap. God, that was close. But a huge run on Johnny Speed to take. And it's just the fact that he gets the luxury of getting back to site there.
Yeah, I think so. Big one from Johnny Speeds. Unfortunately, another dropout on the eLITenergy side, so going to be another tech pause to deal with here, unfortunately. Hopefully not too long of a wait. And indeed, it's not too long of a wait, so we are very quickly back into the action with this one.
There you go. Straight back in. Straight back underway. Nine all. So evenly matches Keegan to open up proceedings. He's Molly, but it was Finn who does the bulk of the damage.
They're moving fast. Not wasting any time here. It was a B bolster. They're going to be the only one. Molotov comes in. He's hidden away. Oh, man. Nearly two. Not quite. And I think with that kill coming in, yeah, they just immediately moved to save. So, I don't know. Both teams, you know, you get caught up as well playing against a team like this where it's like they do some weird stuff. They have some stacks of their own. And they just decided to fully stack B. It seemed quite common from eLITenergy's CT side, so I think Johnny Speeds have noticed that, and they're a bit like, well, yeah, why don't we start doing that and stacking things and trying to play them at their own game, and you just get a bit caught up, really, and yeah, it's not worked for them, obviously.
Yeah, you're spot on. Good F, a tiny look in towards apartments, but doesn't go deep enough to find anyone. That being said, first side into double digits. Johnny Speeds gonna run it back immediately. Again, like you kind of sometimes ask the question of when should these pauses be coming through? It's gonna take a moment to discuss, but they're happy just to run it back. And B9 out for Electro. The battle alongside it obviously pretty solid. 2 towards B initially, but not playing top banana control. Oh, he's going to respect that utility. It's a bit of a risk in doing so, though, giving them all of this space for free. Trading of util. Nade will come over as well, and decent damage on towards Kissel.
Ooh, Sapek with a ding through the wall, lucky to be alive. Keeper's here. In a good spot once again. Gets melted slightly, but they've smoked it off and really took the sting out of the tail. Sapek tries to spam down, not going to work. I mean, they've got no smokes left here now. This is really not a good position utility-wise for eLITenergy. They're thinking about A, but bro, they have like nothing to work with now. It's really not looking good. I think you had to burst through that smoke that the CT's threw instead of waiting for it to dissipate as they have done.
What is the choice? With 30 seconds, they just completely freeze. Presence to both B and the A sides, and Yokab is rotating away from the bomb. He's not fighting. Lecro will get the first. But look, now they dive in, and this is the issue. That's huge. They draw them back towards the A site because of what looks like an initial execute. He actually could have denied the plant. He doesn't know, but he gets flanked from in towards Church. And that's a really good round from eLITenergy. A lovely bit of push and pull to drag units off that B site. Make life uncomfortable. Like, the way they're playing right now, they deserve to be taking this map.
For sure. See if the retake happens, though. Oh, he's being made, and Yokab on the right lines. Oh, the double face in just the nick of time is going to leave Lecro to do it all. He doesn't have the kit either. Needed his teammates to survive. He'll take one on the way out, but it is to no avail. He needed that kit. It does come close on the retake situation, but not going to happen. So eLITenergy move up to 11, and the surprises continue as they are now threatening map number 1.
Unalive. 2 ahead. 2 away. It never really was a consideration. At least in the early conversation that we were having for the pre-show of, can this side actually of eLITenergy go ahead and take a map? It never really crossed our minds. We thought this, no matter whether it was close or one-sided, that it was always going to be Johnny Speeds taking this in 2. They've been flawless up until this point, but it's a difficult watch, honestly. It's Johnny Speed's side who are getting outmaneuvered at times what feels quite effortlessly. Like, that round there is really, really well called. The mid to late round, it's fantastic. The decision to kind of freeze up until about 25 seconds. Then for the A site players to go first, which drags away your CT player, and then the second B player starts to join them and then gets caught. Like, it's great work.
Oh. Look. Right place. Just cannot land the shots. They walk out on him. It's going to be Lecro. Flash comes over the top, but just too many targets. I think Johnny Speeds are checking out of this one. They're really being folded. A lot of lazier spray downs. There's some tilt coming in. Similar to what we saw against Quentry. eLITenergy are just playing fundamental. This is the mission for this round, and they just commit to it, right? No funny business. No crazy ideas. And it's just working very, very well.
Yokab will probably swing off Sapek's contact if they actually commit to this hunt. Oh, heap. Just to be careful. Kissel will look in or lose his life. 1 for 1 there. They don't mind 1 for 1s. And in the end, Keegan a double to surely all but conclude this map. 12-9. Money broken over towards that CT side. This is eLITenergy taking Inferno. And you have to argue the way in which they've played deservedly so. Brilliant. And I love the hunt call too. Like, you've got the residual cash to risk it. Even if everyone falls, you don't really care that much. You can buy back in. Sure, you drop an AKs over towards the CT side, but for the most part, you'd feel fine about it. It's a worthwhile risk to go through because you know about your guaranteed reinvestment. The greatest thing that possibly could happen for eLITenergy is finding all 3, and they do exactly that.
Little lineup for you there. Lovely, lovely stuff. Lands on the half wall. So Johnny Speed's got their homework done in that sense. They do have a game plan behind this, you know. Yeah, force them back. Space to get that nade down, and it's massive damage. So a nice turn of affairs over there at top banana will scare them away and leave them reeling. Potentially work a lot easier for these A players now. But we have seen the efficacy of this T side, just able to play off of each other so very well. Lecro falls. A drop back comes in and it's a dink. It's unfortunately a healthy player leading the pack. The MP9 does not come away with multiple kills. I still am holding my breath on this one because I certainly do feel a well-placed spray down could make a difference. Oh, Oz was ready for the run out and he will close things out, baiting his team a little bit, but it's a great efficiency in the end. Really looking good, man. You know, those individuals that we highlighted, especially in Cos, absolutely flying. He is the statistically highest player on this team, and yeah, proving so. Really, really well done from eLITenergy, and just some great fundamentals, simple Counter-Strike, great mid-rounding. Feels like, you know, it's being run by a bit of committee, the loud voices that are still alive and around, making a few decisions and able to confuse Johnny Speeds. And Johnny Speeds, I think, just never really getting into it on that one. Have you got any closing thoughts on that, Neo? I'll hand it back to you, just because it was such a great map.
I just think fundamentally eLITenergy continue to punch up and excellently, and they actually play with a level of confidence which I'm really, really kind of shocked but also pleasantly surprised to see, because I think a lot of teams, when you're against Johnny Speeds in a bit more of like a tier 2 tournament, you're going to get nervous against them, and I think a lot of teams show them too much respect. There was no respect shown by eLITenergy. That's fantastic. And I think Johnny Speeds, they showed too much respect. I needed a puggier nature from them at times. I needed them to actually fall back on how confident, how crisp they can be, and let those players play that into that level, but they didn't, and they got overrun. Fair play to eLITenergy. It's a fantastic map to take, and who knows what this will do to the series. But for now, we're going to throw to a break. When we are back, it's map number 2. It's Johnny Speeds' pick up next. Well, far from the way that we expected this one to go. Map number 1 of Inferno, eLITenergy's pick, taken by eLITenergy 13-9, with a pretty dominant T side as well, going 7-3 in that second half. And we now head in towards Overpass, the pick of Johnny Speeds. But I mean, who really knows? It was something that we spoke about a little bit in the kind of pre-show half, that this is a map that eLITenergy like. They play it a fair decent amount. There was definitely other ways in which Johnny Speeds could have punished in the veto. They opt to play in their strengths rather than their opponent's weaknesses. But in doing so, this eLITenergy have now got a really good map of their own as the second map.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they're on a 5-winning streak on it. There's a 13-0 in there. There is a victory against Quentry just last night. And that streak also comes from this ECL Cup, so that's over the space of about 6 days now. So, it's not like they've really been blindsided by this, and not like they are pushovers on it. And I think also, worth remembering that they've just got loads of reps recently. So you have to be very careful if you're Johnny Speeds. You have just been beaten out, and maybe they didn't expect it. Johnny Speeds, though, they one-up that in a big way. They've got a crazy streak that, is going to take me about 10 seconds to read the amount of numbers there. It's not as easy to get through and be like, yep, that's definitely 5. My eyes can tell you that. It's got to be like 11 or something. Really, really steep win streak for them on this map at the moment. So they're trying not to bear in mind. They're trying not to, like you say, consider their opponent's weaknesses. They are just playing heavily into their own strengths. And I think that that is serviceable, and for them, they should be able to take this to a third now. But it is just one of these situations similar to the game against Quentry, where it feels like it might just be all blown up in the air now. And I don't rightly know if I want to heavily lean on Johnny Speeds, because they have just let us down a little, and I think they could certainly do so again.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about this like a fair decent amount when we talk about kind of like as we get in towards the series itself, where we talk about how, like, maybe like recent form and percentages and statistics and all the rest. They're actually not generally what we look towards, but we're looking towards how the game itself is feeling. eLITenergy look like they've got a real nice feeling around them. They've got a great understanding of what they want to bring into the table. They're playing some good CS. So there's definitely kind of a feeling of worry here, like, ultimately. And I think this is kind of thing that makes us generally feel a little bit nervous. Like, I don't know what to expect heading in towards this because of how things have been panning out, and how decent at times as eLITenergy side have looked. They've had a really nice control. I'd be very interested to see with when we get into the game who starts what side, because it didn't actually go to plan. Johnny Speeds technically started T side despite the opponent's map pick in the previous. I wonder whether we may get some sort of like change up. I also thought, to be frank as well, there were some like niceties coming through from eLITenergy on that CT side as well. So if they do get that on towards Overpass, we're expecting them to take a lead at the halfway point, and that's generally being it that it is Johnny Speeds map pick. That's probably what we'd expect. The eLITenergy CT side start, and then it's really about how strong it is Johnny Speeds T side. Like, how much can they get going when we obviously were left with a lot of question marks after that first map.
It's true. It is true. I don't know, man. I'm very unsure and maybe a little bit worried as well, just for the side of Johnny Speeds, that they may well have allowed eLITenergy to get into their heads. I think we definitely saw that towards the end of Inferno, and hopefully it's not kept up. Hopefully they can find themselves that fresh slate feeling that we like talking about, but I don't know at this point. I think it could be very, very worrying, in all honesty. But we are into it. We are going to find out. No more talking, and we'll see if Johnny Speeds are able to prove things here. I mean, starting on that lesser preferred T side for a lot of teams. Yeah. Johnny Speeds might lean into more of a T side, to be fair, with, like, more effectiveness there, I should say, just because of this streak that's been going on. I think they're going to be proficient on both sides of the map, but still, it is often something that can get into the heads of players on this T side.
No, for sure. Let's see, if they don't get a pistol, not exactly going to be a dreamy start, but where we have these maybe slight concerns and question marks. Nonetheless, Daventry looking to set a bit of a tone here. Oh, and it actually not terrible. Postal Trades go for the T side. Really nice shot, though.
Nork and Heap chiming in. Oh, man, Heap in particular. Looking good at the end there. He also found a pretty clean pistol to start off Inferno, I do remember. So, decent on the pistols. Maybe a bit more on the cards from Good Def. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it. Looks good for Johnny Speeds. They take the pistol. Will be a force buy coming in from the CT end. As Johnny Speeds, I think it's just the perfect way to open things up. Nice, clean, stress-free pistol.
Yeah.
As they are hoping to just build as much of a lead as possible.
That's it. Get out the gates nice and early on this T side. Forceback comes back in. I don't hate the idea because there were some really nice moments for eLITenergy in that first map on slightly more gimmicky buys. I can definitely get behind it. A lot of it came off gimmicky rounds, which maybe now, after seeing quite a few of them, Johnny Speeds might be a little bit more aware of that being a possibility.
Pretty slow build-up here, actually, from Johnny Speeds. Not really looking to try and force a first kill. You know, go for a boost or go for a look towards B.
Yeah.
And eLITenergy starting to creep in behind them. They flash around in Banana. They will look to try and take control of the A-bomb site. A lot of utility coming over, but there's gaps and there's a smoke in the way, and it does feel slightly broken here. However, it's the weaker weaponry that you worry about for the eLITenergy side. Thistle manages to find one. There's this flank coming in, but it's being watched for at the time being. And indeed, no worries in the end as they just are able to use the superior weaponry to their advantage.
Yeah, I think the execute itself wasn't exactly, like, super clean, but, like you mentioned, I think firepower-wise, they just knew they could win on that alone. Like, potentially even a world, like, a couple more upgraded weapons dotted in there, and it could have been a bit more expensive. Like, you have, like, one M4, even around, like, that, like, transformer position. Could have potentially been a little bit scary, but yeah, not to be. So not to worry about. Two-0 start. Lesser by in round number 3 for the CTs. Should be a pretty simple one to dispatch of.
You'd think so. And it is. Yokab making loads of money.
Beautiful.
Gonna leave it down to Kissel here on the CZ.
Don't see that too often.
Well, there's always a contingent of players that are like, the CZ's the best. It's very workable. Yeah, it's got like a cult following. And it has had, I wouldn't necessarily say it's had a buff, but it's had some like attention because of the reload changes. It actually...
you got given like an extra mag.
Yeah, one extra mag. Sure, yeah. Maybe the only gun that didn't get brought down rather than up. You know, it's a lot of other pistols that have had their...
Yeah, I think it's one of the only pistol
reduced.
that like didn't get like upgraded. Yeah. There was like a few. The Bison got quite like, loads of ammo actually, like which is kind of crazy. But basically, none of the important weapons got like major buffs to work with.
No, it's true, and I mean, yeah, is there a use case for the Bison? Probably not, because you just can't really kill anyone with it. But
such a pea shooter even against like
sometimes, yeah, right. Sometimes I think Valve will chuck something in that's just a bit funny, like when they reduced the Negev, but also made it awful. Yeah. You know, the Bison is one where it's like some guy in Gold Nova 2. It's not done like that anymore. Some guy in 8,000 Premier Elo is going to stand at the top of Banana just shooting his Bison for a minute straight.
And he's going to get 4 or 5.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's for those kinds of situations, not necessarily for the level that we work on.
Exactly that. his first gun round. A very important one, no less. We have to find success, and it's the name that we highlighted coming in towards this series. It's Keegan to open up proceedings. It's a bonus buy. It's not the end of the world or doom and gloom by any means if this is to be lost by Johnny Speeds, but on the flip side, if you win a bonus buy, it's huge momentum. It's not looking good, though.
Orc does trade one back. Keegan to find his kill is the big deal for me. Zapek has been thought about and has been found. Just on to Mr. Nork, and his kill unfortunately cost him pretty much his entire HP bar. So I was going to say you don't expect him to get anything, but he's found that kill, and there's maybe a brief window. He doesn't know it. If he'd rushed straight in, I think he could have gotten ahead of the AWP and forced the bomb plant, but it's just not the case. Finn will catch him. And so, as soon as the guns come out, eLITenergy are on the board.
We saw
Watch
this
out for this.
Yeah, so what's happening towards that first map? Same thing. It was like a period where it was Johnny Speeds building up a bit of a repertoire and looking kind of scary, and then yeah, the buys come through and there's just one side in the server, and that, especially in that second half, happened, which is, I think that's going to really concern me. Like we said though, because that was a bonus buy, it's not doom and gloom to lose it. They can invest straight back in with actually even better firepower here. But let's see. If you go back to back here, eLITenergy, then we start to get really interested.
Sure. I can get behind that. Bit of tit for tat to begin with. It's not a very forward-facing defense from the CT side. They are looking to make a move. Wait inside the smoke. Zapek. Got to be careful. Is there a flash with his name on? No, but there is a trade with his name on. Hey, 1-for-1. Maybe not ideal, especially on Overpass. Such a wide map. It's not like you can really look at that and confirm it's going to be A. They're trying to do that with the rotations, but the bomb itself is actually slowly using this to move back towards B. So yeah, they really have to be careful with over-responding, overreacting.
I mean, it happened a few times. I think in particular, to kind of like flipped, but it was when Johnny Speeds were on the CT side, they overreacted quite a few times themselves. So sort of learning, I guess, from their mistakes, eLITenergy, if they can. V3 numbers advantage, 20 seconds. We don't not have a lot of time here. Oh my god. What is going on? Good F, shoot! He just keeps running out of ammo. He's scared about getting caught on the reload. They're diving back towards A. They've got less than 10 seconds to get on towards the site and plant here. Flash will come over. Kos can deny. Kos can deny. And he will. There we go, round. And in the water.
Wow, I mean, it's tough, bro.
Time there. I think he did. I think Jakob died off the time.
1.7?
I mean... Oh, I don't know,
yeah, he's 1.1. No, he's 1.1 here on the replay. 2 kills.
So yeah, he did
and then died just after time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
close.
they're still going to buy around him.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He's been dropped, actually, at Galil. They're confident in his ability. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. Jakob finds 2 key kills and all that. Just couldn't... The flash was good to, like, let them cross in. It's just the blasted plant on that A-bomb site overpass. Yes. Obviously, where the hell is he going to be? Everybody knows. And they just could not find the player. Couldn't even see him running in to try and deny. So I think there was a good chance they could have denied him, but it's the map and the bomb site that lets them down. It's a very specific use case, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, you're spot on. Huge round to take, though. And because of that, like, death off the time and the choice to force buy as well, again, another round where it's, you know, quite a hefty amount of pressure on saying, like, you know, you lose this round here, and we're in a fair amount of trouble. They're diving in towards top side. And I gotta say, I love the call, and it's gonna net them. The site itself, we're just gonna get ourselves into a plant here.
Yeah, not feeling too comfortable for that. It's a pretty good nade. It's a man advantage. to Yokab. Ooh, in an advanced position that has just been handed a bit of assistance. I think Keegan's trying to swap guns if he can. But they are not expecting Yokab. Up close and personal.
Okay.
Well timed to fly in for another. It's all going to be on to Kissel here. And Yokab's position is absolutely unbeatable. Kissel just creeps through, but Sapek aware it could have happened and will take him down. Big find from Johnny Speeds with the unlikeliness of it, the timing of it, and the buy, of course. Really, really well done.
Yeah. Sort of feels like in a spot like that, like, don't really have too much right to walk away with around, but they just call a fundamentally quite simple one. They just dive in towards the A site early. There's no kind of messing around. You know, we've just seen them lose around essentially to time off the back of not giving themselves enough to get that kind of C4 safely down. Obviously, it was a denial of that plant as the numbers were being punched in, but generally speaking, it was like a loss of round to time. They immediately go for a quick one to follow up. That's a great reaction. And already up to, you know, an okay-ish scoreline. Like 4 rounds. T-side. Far from terrible. Probably the 5th as well. Like eLITenergy, they do need to be a bit scared here.
Yeah, most certainly, and I think we're going to see them fight back, but you can already just feel Johnny Speeds more comfortable, happier to leave individuals to do their own thing, already more like multi-frag moments and dangerous spots. We just didn't see as much of that on Inferno, potentially a map that has a lot of top-level players and teams can be a bit sick of it, you know, and not enjoying playing it as much as perhaps they once did. I think that just shows up in your individual thinking. You know, team play might be decent enough, but yeah, they're just not able to net as many of those individual moments.
Oh.
Flying forwards, Lecro makes the money. Mac 10 pays for itself before he goes down. So got this Deagle in play to maybe try and find a cheeky head on the way out, but it will absolutely be a 5th secured.
Yeah. Good cash. Not going to complain about that at all. And with that being said, the remaining 2. Not really expecting fireworks here. That Zeus is desperate for a target. Kissel's clearing corners with it as if it has rage. But in the end, simple round. Simple stuff. Five to 2. 5 rounds already on this T side. I'll keep saying it, but this is... It is concerning. It is worrying for eLITenergy, who we... At least statistically, I mean, we had some sort of expectations about them. We're not seeing that at the moment.
Oh, yeah, missing marks, aren't they? Yokab catches Cos all too easily. Doesn't even take any damage there. He will get a little overconfident. The trade is not quite sharp enough. Expecting the boost over here. Kissel gives his location away fully. So he has a couple players spamming his way. Takes a lot of damage. 4 on 4. And the reaggress. Feels kind of crazy. He's going to come in just as they move round to secure that kill. He knew there was a player hanging out on that railing. And so actual man advantage now for the CT side for them to work with. Really well done to get that with some mid-round aggression that they were all a part of in one way or another.
There's a creep up long by Heap. I'm just worried about this AWP being tunnel visioned. Thankfully, he's not. Great. A little check and a molly down by Keegan. To slow him down. Gronok are going to have a look. 25 seconds. How he gets away with that, I do not know. This is still very doable by Johnny Speeds. Oh my god, confirm your kills. And he does, thank God. Good effort, going to get both, and the AWP will see off the last. Oh, that was probably a bit closer than it should have been.
No, that's true. And I mean, as you said, it's still doable for Johnny Speeds. They get totally blindsided, which is a bit funny in and of itself. But round pretty serious, I think it's safe to say. It's just mid-round moves. So well done. And it's tough. I mean, Good Def uses their smoke against them. Perfect timing, able to hide away. The trades and comms just not quite fast enough. So Johnny Speed's still very capable of getting flustered and just getting frustrated. I think, you know, they die in the mid-round. They lose a couple players that maybe they feel they shouldn't have done. And is there a pickup in comms, or is it, again, just kind of complaining and being a bit annoyed? Definitely does feel like this eLITenergy team can bring you down to that if you're not careful.
Yeah, agreed. Nothing offered up in the early portion of this round. Good F going to take a little tag. Again, we see this Johnny Speed side who enjoy leaving things a little late. Oh, damn, it's traded out. Got Nork who's barely alive, but Koss takes a fair tag, and now so is Good F.
They pivot back. 30 seconds here. Not a lot of seconds. There's three players on A. They're looking to play the forward positions. It's the push necessarily needed. It sort of forces Kissel to strike, but there's still a player, Optimus, if they can even get past Keegan here. He will go down into the one-on-one. They've just about bought enough time to fake out on the bomb. Lekro, here's the steps coming in. Gonna really baits him out. Peaks the second time of asking, and Lekro stays cool in the clutch. A big round for Johnny Speeds. And man, that looked not good. Honestly, the setup was designed to stop them, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, agreed. Really not what we were kind of hoping. With that being said, I assume like a little bit of a chance to again further extend what is already quite a damning lead. One M4 for Koss. That's about it in this round. Said to say we're not really expecting any fireworks in this one. Koss actually goes 1 for 1.
Yeah, not bad. Still looking to keep the M4 in the conversation. I mean, also, Johnny Speed's going to worry, going to slow down. They will start the execute, but there's tiny bits of smokes and whatnot to work with. 5-7, forced out. He's bought a lot of time. The M4 is still going to be the last one here, unfortunately. Everybody else going down pretty much. Good Def lucky to be alive. Koss will probably look to save what he has, yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Johnny Speed's moving up to 7, though, as their comfort continues, their lead now growing.
Johnny Speeds, I mean, already with how this first half's been, by most metrics, we would sort of claim this to be, generally speaking, like, enough already. Like, taking a lead on the T side. In most worlds, that is considered enough at most sort of levels. Now, the caveat to that is the fact that eLITenergy had a really decent T side in that first map, but even still, this is a non-start at the moment. This feels... I'm premature in saying by me, but it does feel like this Dust 2 is going to be required. I'm just not seeing really that same level, that same edge by eLITenergy. Where on the flip side, I feel like it was probably quite a stark wake-up call with Johnny Spears. Like, we really need to win this series first and foremost, but, like, we should be winning this series. We are, on paper, the favourites, the better side. We've got the considerably more experience, and we didn't show it towards that Inferno, that map number 1. We've got to really bounce back hard on Overpass, and so far they're doing exactly that. They've just got eLITenergy playing completely to their pace.
Finn picking that pace up, loses the fight all the same. The spam trade will be there. But F going down as well through the smoke. So that's a well-read situation. Gives Johnny Speeds the man advantage. They look to do from here. I mean, we've seen them in these situations plenty of times and fully able to convert. So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do it again here. As, yeah, we've seen bits of mid-round aggression and whatnot.
Yeah.
But eLITenergy, I think, going to be stuck on this one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I made that assumption the numbers game alone should be enough. He has quite a few attempts at that, but will end up losing his life to Keegan, who really doesn't take that much damage, to be honest. Bomb, down, hot flash. Not really avoided. Yoka's up close, and now an quantity holding Mouse One around the corner. He'll see him off, nailing the smoke. Hold it, Yoka, hold it, because the swing out 4. And through it, Nork will see it off in the end. That was really kind of dicey because he doesn't hold his own smoke. If he goes down quickly, it sets them up with a chance of 1v2 in the player on the side, and that could have been uncomfortable, but in the end, not to be. Good trades. And ultimately for Johnny Speeds, 4 versus 3 as they're moving through into kind of that A site. They just play their numbers game. We talk about this so often. Play for the trades. That's all you need to do. And that's all that they do.
Yeah. Simple, but effective. And looks to put them over the line. We've got the auto shotgun coming in. And that looks so interesting on the hood, I can't lie.
Yeah.
A bit of a new icon for it. But looks kind of cool. Either way, it's going to find its way into connector here. And I know you're a fan. And I'm certainly a fan of the chaos, so we'll see. He wants to fight. He's looking to try and press the attack here. Flash comes in, he's unbothered. He will be beaten, but he will also be traded. So the 2-for-1 in con.
Yeah, generally speaking, the C-side will be happy about having those numbers. Oh, needed that kill in towards back of sight. Nork now holding with AWP, but realistically, this round sort of needs to be carried over the line by Heap. He'll eat some damage to a nade. There's the flank coming through. Nork will hit a nice shot. But he's all alone. And he can't see off the last 8-4 round of the end for eLITenergy. But I am far from convinced of them. Johnny Speeds look very, very comfortable on this map of Overpass. And we're expecting more of the same in the second half.
Well, we are back into maybe more of what we were expecting. We'll see if the flip onto the T side makes a difference for eLITenergy, but a relatively one-sided scoreline here. And Johnny Speed's looking a hell of a lot better, right? There's a few rounds, there's individuals that have moments, but ultimately, Johnny Speeds are looking much, much stronger, and I think this is what we were expecting of them in this grand final. eLITenergy, though, still give themselves enough runway to surprise and to make a comeback, win the pistol. Maybe they're more proficient on their T side, and things could change very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I really do feel like they're looking a little bit more confident in themselves and what they're able to bring to the table. Still, we have to see. I feel like, you just get this level out from eLITenergy when they find a bit of form, which they can scale quite quickly, but I'm just not convinced just yet. I mean, this really sort of feels like an uncomfortable map. And this doesn't start well as your couple open up proceedings with the dualies.
Ooh, nade's not quite reaching. Gonna soften up slightly. They will start the executing. Cause that unknown man coming in from Monster, nice and quiet. Gonna have to do the damage. And he has made it a bit awkward, but it's Lecco who stayed alive, found two, and left it all down to Keegan. So not looking too good. The spam as well to kind of deal with him and fully give his position away. He just knows he's not going to be able to make it into that B-bomb site. Trying to confuse, trying to fake things out. May well have been spotted on the jump peak there, but they're also just not biting this idea that he's headed towards A. They'll spot him, they'll finish him off, and it will be the pistol going the way of Johnny Speeds without the bomb plant as well.
It's quite a statement, that, isn't it? Just continue piling on that pressure. And I think you can see for eLITenergy, it just feels like a side who are a little bit more uncomfortable in what level they can really bring to the table. We should be off the back of that pistol. There's no buy here, so it realistically should be a 10-4. Like, you already start to lean into this most likely being a third map. I mean, it feels very, very doubtful at the moment that it's not going to go to that decider of Dust 2. 10-4, it gives you 2 gun rounds to work with, one of which might even be a little bit uncomfortable. You'd like a bomb plant around like this to help out with the finances a tad, but super unlikely, especially with Finn already being caught into his connector.
Yeah, I would have said so. Moving slowly here. Just to try and find that cheeky headshot. Boost coming in. Well-timed smoke from Johnny Speeds, though. Not going to stop them from spotting a player on this very specific angle. They just see the edge of Heap as he oversteps. So a decent find. M4 recovered. Surely not, you say, but stranger things have happened, and they've really lost track of these players. Cos goes down, being left by himself, and the supporting cast is pretty effective. 4 on 2. As indeed, it will be all but over. Nothing coming in the end, as double digits now found for Johnny Speeds. They're in prime position. They've just got to see this rifle off, and I think it's like, okay, map number 3 is, on the way.
Yeah, exactly. It may feel early to say, but we've been kind of around long enough to know that this round here does very much feel like do or die. If you don't find this, you've not really got too much of a chance, to be honest. See, Mac 10 for Kissel. AK's alongside spam. Won't actually do anything. It was Finney got tagged by the boost initially. Great work by the Mac 10. Can't get a second behind it, but neither can Sapek, who did need that second to probably give them a chance. There's a dink that comes through. Keegan, Finn, they're both tagged. This round surely got absolutely nothing behind it. Heap will get in behind. And yeah, he's made noise about this, but they don't care. They're dead to rights either way. The last man at Keegan, he was the one tagged earlier Yokab knows all too well about that. Good shot down. And they don't even get close to getting a plant like that.
No, very true. I mean, look, the initial moves are not bad, but they just can't quite figure out a way to fully break in, to fully better the defense. And I think Quentry were giving them a lot more room, and then also a few silly faces and whatnot. You know, they really thought they were the better team. And, you know, if it was map 1, Johnny Speeds might have given them the same, but because it's map 2, Johnny Speeds like, okay, we've lost the map. This is meant to be our home. We've got to respect them on this one. Nice little touchdown nades to kick us off. Not too much more work, though, for the Johnny Speeds. They will have to come from behind. They've tried to wrestle back in. Sapek's dry swing is punished and should actually be around for the teaser.
Surely. Oh, left row. Oh, nice reaction on the second. Maybe not a guaranteed round just yet. This is still actually quite precarious.
Nork with a keen one. Not rotating up yet, though. I mean, Heap is just glued downstairs. That's certainly going to slow the roll of this retake, but it's a possible retake where at one point you might have said not the case. Ollie, smoke, and a nade, if it all makes it to the right place. So we'll see. They don't have loads of time to work with. Molotov slightly clears. Even gonna have to take a fight, he feels, but he's just biding time, isn't he, really, for the bomb, for his support. There's a smoke for that bomb. There is a kit in the hands of Heap. That's about all they can really hope for. Can he stay on it here? Oh, Kissel trying, but failing to find him. Oh, my goodness. I mean,
that just sums
insult
it up.
to injury.
Yeah.
Knife is out. He is just blind swiping. Absolutely no idea on the lineup, and Johnny Speeds will take 12 in an unlikely, almost impossible fashion.
Yeah, if that doesn't just sum up this map, I don't know what does. That is essentially everything that could go wrong. It's these, you know, small mistakes that compound so well, but just losing track of where the plant is, like, it's heartbreaking stuff. It really is. Love the idea. That's why a lot of teams, you just keep hold of one smoke late into the round as a precautionary measure, a just in case. On a buy, most likely for the seaside. Lillian play. A bit of utility at the very least. Which comes to the back of that plant in the previous round. I mean, some finances to fall back on, but just mentally, you can kind of feel like they're probably already boomed at this point. And how can you blame them?
Yeah, it's very true. Just not their map, and certainly a different level being shown by Johnny Speeds, as you would expect, because this is absolutely their map, and in this recent upswing that they've had in the past,
yes, for sure,
couple months, this map has been a big part of it, that they can just lean on it within a series and pretty much have a guaranteed win. Is it going to be over here, though, is the question. Sapek goes unchecked. Could be the difference maker. 3 versus 2. A break open to allow Nork to probably hammer this one home. Keegan with the bomb. Takes his time getting here, I think, having to recover it from an interim position. And he has old information. He's trying to make work here, but he is in completely the wrong area. Spotted out now. And does eventually get finished off. 13-4. Nork looking quick in the end. We'll see if that continues into map number 3, of course. But a real taste of what we expected. I think maybe the Inferno just comes through as one of the shakier maps. But then, man, we got the Dust 2 next, which is also not ideal for Johnny Speed. So in terms of the veto, eLITenergy have won it out, but Johnny Speed's just showing what they are fully capable of there, Naya.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a statement, the way in which they've taken that map. They have really not broken a sweat at all. I don't know what happened to eLITenergy, but despite that map on paper and statistically not looking that bad, and we've seen decent moments from them yesterday, that was a really woeful showing. They're completely checked out, and they can never get themselves back into it. So let's see. We've got that Dust 2, as you mentioned, coming up next as our decider. It's now a best-of-1 brawl to see who is going to be our champion here today. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you after the break.
We're here for the third and final map of this grand final then, as both have managed to take their own map picks. Looking forward to getting into Dust 2 though, as it did feel like our up in the air kind of map, as a decider often should. Johnny Speeds with a lot of reps, but not that much success. And eLITenergy, slightly better for them, but just not loads of reps, or at least on HLTV. I mean, a team that, you know, have kind of burst onto the scene a little bit in the HLTV conversation with this particular ECL Cup as well, gaining a lot of wins here and moving up the ranks. But we just don't quite know what to expect out of this one. Also in the context of the series, as we had a Johnny Speeds that looked flat and kind of tilted in places on Inferno, maybe not one of their favourite maps. Then they have just absolutely brought a masterclass against eLITenergy, so we know that it is certainly possible for them. I think it's just a case of whether we get map 1 or map 2 version of Johnny Speeds, really.
Yeah, and you know, again, we say this sort of every time when we get to kind of like a second or a third map in a series, where we say we don't really start delving into the numbers that much, but it is quite damning. Like, in that break, I was looking through the numbers for Johnny Speeds, and like, some of their losses are they're pretty one-sided. Like, they are getting kind of destroyed by slightly more, you know, tier 2 unknown entities, so to say, which is a worry inherently. And I think this is kind of like definitely worth mentioning that it's, yes, they play it a lot, but it's, God, some of these like losses are pretty bad. So it could still be a problematic. I definitely don't think it's going to be as clean as that map number 2. But judging by how strong they were towards that map number 2, it's really difficult not to lean in favor of Johnny Speeds at the moment. Like, they were already feeling like our favorites in towards this series, and of course it was like a little bit of a hiccup at the start, but yeah, for the most part, like, Johnny Speeds, you surely use that map you've just had as great momentum in towards this decider. And, you know, to be honest with them, if they can get a strong start, pistol on a force buy to open up proceedings, I immediately get worried for eLITenergy.
Yeah, no, it's totally fair. I think I'm there with you as well. So they just have to be very, very careful to get going here. But it's tough to say, and again, it's going to function at a kind of different level for Johnny Speed, some of the teams that they've been playing, and just the way that they should be able to really facilitate those individuals, as we've come to expect and as we have just seen on map number 2. So yeah, there's always a worry, there's always a close run for eLITenergy, but I think it's just going to take a lot of work for them on a map like Dust 2, which doesn't have a lot of depth tactically, but those nuanced moments, those nuanced kills and whatnot can really make all the difference. And I don't know that eLITenergy themselves are going to be able to create them, let alone deal with them from the Johnny Speed side of things. We got the knife round here just to see how things are going to go. And they're headed towards long, which is cool. Just want to point out, everybody seems to be going mid these days in the pugs, which I don't get.
It's different.
It was always long, man. I don't know why it's become mid all of a sudden.
Good work. Nice, easy knife round as well. It's going to come through. And it gives, of course, eLITenergy their choice of where to start. They're going to opt CT. So, now that we can kind of get underway, I really wonder for eLITenergy, how are they feeling? Like, it's so hard not to have a map like that weigh on your mind a little bit. Never got going, never really showed too much. None of your individuals really shone through. Like, it's very easy to linger in the back of your mind and see whether that is going to be the case. We are live on the decider.
Pistol spamming away. Nothing to be found early on. Just yet. Slowing way down as I think both teams really understand the importance of a good start here. So looking to net that as things get going. Contact flash for the Johnny Speeds, and they will indeed look to speed things up. Contact smokes, really making it simple. Good Dev trying to get in a position here with the Julies. He will be denied away. It's Cos, however, with the confidence that's managed to net 2. Oh, man, I was going to say, surely should go down here. The big thing is the bomb got spilled just outside a window. So you got half the team committed in, half the team needing to get back out there to get the bomb. Just super, super awkward. And in the end, it ends up costing them eLITenergy actually find the pistol.
Yeah. Really cool way to start off for them as well. I felt like the initial kind of slower roll was going to work quite well for Johnny Speeds. Like, they wait out the smoking towards mid-doors. They're kind of trying to, as best they can, scale off the back of it, but they don't. They get slightly overrun. There's some really nice shots that get hit. And Kissel, that second in particular, you're under a lot of pressure, and the Glocks are slamming down upon you as well. 2 for him, 2 for Koss. Not loads to fall back on for Johnny Speeds. Double Galil, double Deagle, and a Scout. The 2 upgraded pistols are there to bolster that utility.
Early utility out. Just to try and create that space. They do have a nice kind of position to work with. Lower tunnels secured. Short now, the next port of call. I think they should be able to get through this pretty easily. But Kissel is here, and he does have support, so they're going to be able to respond in kind. I mean, the Galils are always deadly. Alongside 2 Deagles, I'm not sure how I'd really feel about it. Well-timed CT smoke. Just stops them for the time being. But it's not costed any T utility just yet. So they can easily wait for this to dissipate and then get their own utility out.
They lurk behind that smoke. Good nade. Decent chip damage dealt. And now in they come diving down. 2 have made it down towards CT, which they've got to be kind of careful of, and they're not, because the long player wasn't holding for it. They're going to try and swing. Hang on a second, we're in a 2 versus 4 here. Johnny Speeds should be taking this round, and you might actually even save, and it looks like Koss and Gadef are.
Yeah, I mean, they have just been overwhelmed, really, and Johnny Speed's able to keep it simple. But little bits and pieces from the CT side, again, might get punished. They're slightly preemptive with some of the utility with some of their positions. And splitting the difference. You know, a lot of the time it's like, okay, we're defending from short or we're defending from long. And the other area kind of gets sacrificed and committed to the retake. But they try and spread themselves wide. And in doing so, spread yourself thin, right? This is the problem with the A-bomb site on Dust 2. You can't hold everything all at once. Unless you have some kind of a man advantage. And I think this is just where they get split up. Easy to isolate fights. You might lose a player on the way in, but a quick trade is very possible. And that's exactly what Johnny Speeds play around.
Yeah. I really think the fact that those 2 players diving towards, like, diving out of short, they dive down lower, and they are able to swing on the ramp player basically untraded, I think is such a glaring issue. Like, it's obviously such a known thing to do these days, hence why those trickle-down smokes are so prevalent. That's a nice way to start, though. Egan. Obviously always a threat. We highlighted... Whoa, they've taken the fight right back to them, eLITenergy. Opening double.
Uh-oh. Koss getting another, able to get away from there as well. There's a flank on to Yokab. He's dead. Not expecting that at all. It's all on Nork. So it's going to be some back and forth here. As Nork yoinks a save. And he's not necessarily fancying his chances. Absolutely to be expected. Things looking pretty damn good now for the CT side, but when it's in the air, it can last for quite a while, the back and forth. And the money is pretty good for the T side, honestly.
Yeah.
So they'll absolutely be buying, and it might be a good buy to say that. Oh, it does go down in the end. So that'll affect things. He could have dropped like an AK or something like that, but not going to be the case. They'll still look to buy, though.
Well, honestly, a pretty huge round to respond with. I love the way in which it's approached. I feel like, you know, for eLITenergy, it's very easy in a round like that after the round you've just lost, where you've been kind of overcome by, forced by. It's very easy to, kind of simply shell up, sit back, wait for them to come to you, and with that being said, to get aggressive, to be quite punchy in your approach, shows that eLITenergy are still kind of full of confidence.
It's all gone quiet here as Johnny Speeds for the A's split once again. And once again, they have split things up a bit. Finn out on an island by himself here. Just got to stay crisp. Hopefully he knows his angles. They will struggle to take him down here, so it looks good. And yeah, diving in is going to be tough as well. Zapek falls on shore. He'd try and give it a go. And actually not coming out too bad for it. But it is just these initial kills working against them. All going to be on Yokab. He's got 8 HP to find this final player. It is not out of the realms of possibility, but he's totally repositioned. He's looking to just get the drop on a player that he knows has to be low. With only 20 seconds left, Yokab does not have time for this.
Well,
It's just over.
I know, yeah, there's really nothing you can kind of do here. You sort of see Finn, he was sort of tempted to push forward a little bit, then range himself back in, and not only that, AK saved. If he doesn't spot anything at the tail end, he also wants to keep out of that AK too. That being said, now 3-1. Decent little scale. There's really not a lot. I think force buying kind of around that save, it doesn't feel worthwhile for me because you don't bring a lot to the table. So it makes me sort of half they give this one up. And well, with that being said, look where we are now. 3-1 should be 4-1. eLITenergy feels like that previous map has not affected them at all. Oh, nice shot.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things as well, though. They've got a couple names. Goz and Keegan were the big ones that stood out, but Kissel we also highlighted as not looking too bad.
Yeah, agreed.
They have the ability to fight back, and I think Johnny Speeds, with the way that these early rounds go, you know, they're very unpredictable. They're very scrap-heavy. They're giving a bit too much of those opening fights across. Whether that's in the first 20th, 30 seconds, or those initial bursts, right? They just aren't quite spacing well enough, aren't quite trading well enough. In all honesty. In towards B they go. Or rather, try to go. Actually not going to get past good def at all. And it will be the fourth coming in for eLITenergy on their CT side.
And not only that, it's just the fact that it's flawless as well, right? It's a cherry on top. Yeah, beautiful stuff. I mean, there is a world in which this starts to get really concerning. Like, as we come back in towards this buy now, you lose this round, Johnny Speeds, and you have the opportunity. The fifth obviously is there, and then the sixth because of the lack of funds, especially if you don't get a bomb plant, and therefore you're already at kind of a guaranteed tied game. You probably expect these 1 or 2 more rounds to be found. Like, it's really concerning, and it's Keegan again to open up proceedings. That previous round opening it up, fair enough, he gets a low buy, but he knows there's a full buy back in here, and he's still so confident to fight. I love it.
Boosting at mid, meanwhile. Not sure it's going to see too much action. It does seem that we are headed towards long. Faking things out towards mid, though. Flash is good. Keegan's always going to be happy for a reface, however. The missed shot. Oh, does get taken down. I think he might have got like the leg through the wall, actually, or the very tip of the toe, something along those lines. This is being watched for, however, so still able to retain the man advantage and keep the damage high. Means that things are looking very, very good. Heap gonna fall. Just a spray through that smoke, a stray bullet taking him down. Pause. Looking to make a play. They've got the room and the manpower to do so. Plenty of noise, plenty of telegraphed moves. Nork, they know about him. He's the only one left here, and wow, really struggles to find anything. Not that he would have survived much longer than just one kill. 5 rounds now for eLITenergy. This is getting scary.
Nah, it is. I think you're absolutely spot on. It's a side that are, at the moment, absolutely flying. Very concerned for Johnny Speed. Probably next gun round. I really wouldn't mind a pause here. Take a moment, take a breather, lean on the experience of your individuals. Necro, Nork, you know, these guys have been around the block for a while, been in a variety of moments like this. Leave the corner. Sapek will take the short control. There's no decision. They're just going to dive in towards B.
Yeah.
How well will Koss do? Goodef can very quickly turn around. I wonder... Now, with that Utah coming over, is he going to throw the molly or the smoke down there behind it? I like the idea of the nade behind. Just look how much damage it does. Koss is running out of ammo. He needs to support the AK, and he gets it. B site is closed. Goodef takes 1 point of damage. That was in blocking the nade.
Yeah, they've done very, very well in those types of rounds, I think, to just keep them at bay and really stop the B bomb site being an option in lighter rounds. But Johnny Speed's lacking that X factor. And I think this is the worry of the Dust 2 that doesn't really work for them. They've had 2 maps in this series they don't necessarily enjoy and struggle to get into both within the rounds themselves, but maybe in their heads as well. And it does feel that way. They just don't have the deepest of calls. They don't have much variety. And it seems to be really, really catching them off in the worst possible way. I don't know. This could very much continue.
Yeah,
you can see his little shadow kind of distracts him away, but still good presence at long.
Hot flash. On the corner, nade, depending on the timing here by Kissel, could be good. I think actually goes a little bit too deep, so does nothing, in fact.
Oh. No. Neither spotted on... Wow, that's kind of crazy. I mean, Cos might not be conveying the information accurately then, but the bomb's still got a cross in. Definitely expecting a fight. They do get it. They do trade it. But the bomb revealed. So, a bomb site going to be really ready. You got Kissel on this corner. Not an angle that's been often played, to be fair. Contact flash for him. Another one behind it as well, actually. He's just not quite confident enough to take a head or to stick around. They're going to move through the fire. Just get caught off. Keegan's still here, though. He's lost all support, and Nork takes him out. I think they definitely needed an AWP to deal with that AWP. Could have gotten very, very ugly. And it still might. Good def rolling through. Spotted now, and surely not long for the world. Nork's AWP doing a lot. Takes 2 key frags in the end.
So, not there just yet, I guess, is the main takeaway, but still, definitely those worries, there's definitely those question marks about whether that we can kind of find consistency behind it. But generally speaking, we need, following this, a real decent run out from Johnny Spears to start to feel like there's some level of a chance. You can get like 6-4. And start feeling somewhat confident about it. Recover this half in any way. Make it a doable affair. We can entertain the idea.
Certainly. Yeah, definitely with you on the position of the team, not necessarily changed too much just yet. But maybe in time, maybe if they are able to steal away a bit of that very valuable momentum. Mid-control comes through. There's a break on the smoke, but there's more smokes down the middle than they perhaps bargained for. Still, wherever there's noise, they will respond and make a move. Quick find, but a quick flank. Good def traded fast.
Yeah, that's huge.
And they're ready for this flank as well in some capacity. And with that being revealed, I think that's going to be your round. Too far away from B once this bomb goes down. 4 versus 3 now to just save, if they can. There's a small hunt on the way.
Yeah, I think the if they can is quite valid. Yok, I was expecting him on the left-hand side behind the box, but he's the other way. All that matters, back-to-back rounds. That's what I was saying. Do not allow this to be a flash in the pan, and it's not. Kissel could still potentially get one at the end here. He's waiting to see if there's a swing that comes through, but it will not be the case. You can hear the steps in the car. But just like that. Up to 3. You get to 6-4 and within reach and distance, but it is just about, more than anything, that soft recovery. Just gives you something to fall back on from this first half, which honestly, a couple of rounds ago was looking like we could be in real trouble.
Some cool utility coming in. Nice lineups, of course, but more of the action towards lower tunnels. Boosted up, unable to find success. Pretty key one coming in. They really do need to keep this train going. Keep left on 1 HP out towards long. No kills as yet. Just that usual back and forth. Koz is so confident around this double doors angle, by the way. Really loves looking for a fight.
And it's working as well. He's absolutely flying at the moment. Under a minute on that clock and no commitment by Johnny Speeds. We know that naturally they have been slowing down the tempo a little bit. And they come, they're walking straight into Koss. He's actually quite unfortunate not to get 2 there. That's going to tuck himself in towards Brits. Oh, I can't believe it. Kissel gets away with 2 through the smoke. And it shuts down the mid play, which was loosely setting herself up for a mid to B split. Nothing.
Nothing indeed. Not good. Not good. You're still right on the level of needing a couple more rounds. Could get very one-sided. 9-3 still on the cards here. Everything goes against plan. Which at the moment is looking to be the case. And you see where the cash is at. They'll be able to buy back up, but it's not going to be perfect. Just all these kinds of things coming into play, coming into the conversation as Johnny Speeds continue looking far weaker than we would have expected. But there's some serious holes in the map pool, it would seem now. And I think that definitely has been the case.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll come back to it again. Like, we critiqued this veto in the pre-show. You know, gave the benefit of the doubt. Kind of where it was, you know, they have reps on the board and they back themselves rather than kind of playing to their opponent's kind of statistics. But, you know, as we're kind of seeing in hindsight, maybe they should have paid a little bit more attention to it. This thus far is not looking clean. Molly, airburst. I mean, even that, like, bit of a rookie error. It's a pretty standard molly that you basically end up throwing every round. Small errors compounding. We talk about it quite a lot, but it has such a big difference. And I think also showing the confidence and the feeling, the vibes in the side. They're just not good right now.
Yeah. It's the mental, really. I think, again, they just continue looking flustered. Wow, that's crazy. Keegan finds a kill and dies in, like, the same frame, it feels. They do manage to take his teammate out on the site a bit too easily, right? So this is going to give them a chance back into the round. Plank comes in. And they're looking to move fast. The molly will slow them, however. Might even make them consider whether they want to go for this. Finn is super low and on the AWP. He's got 2 flashes. They're going to have to be really good. I look at Nork here. And his spot is perfectly countering things. The nade, though, to take his teammate is not the start that he wanted. And the flashes are indeed good. It's well found. All thanks to that HE, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, initially as well, I think when they're moving, I like, yeah, well, like you said, I kind of felt like the same frame, like the definition of a trade, like immediate, but you can see, you know, Norgs wanted to play up and towards the kind of the bricks a bit, right, and play up to kind of essentially be a bit of a post-plant position there, but he actually needed to be slightly more supporting. And then the retake utility is quite excellent. Nade comes in first, couple flashes behind it, and they just swing through. They back themselves so much at the moment. 8 on that CT side, the chance at 9. They're scaling up short. Bit of damage dealt, but that's 4 players spotted in all fairness. And a great timing on that molly. And look at the util behind it. Nade, there's an AWP here, and M4 will come in for a little bit of his own. It is bountiful. It's beautiful. eLITenergy, who are showing the level that this side can play at. And the last man, he has absolutely no chance in hell here, Norg. 1 versus 4 for him to recover.
Yeah, I also just feel like there's a real argument to be made that Johnny Speeds are not playing up to a good level, you know? Like, the Dust 2 is just not quite good enough. They don't... You know, we've not seen much faking out. We've not seen much lurking. There's just a lot of sending everyone in where the utility is. And it's very predictable and dealable if they're not using their early utility, which they know they don't necessarily have to because you're not faking them out super hard. You know, often we'll see like a little burst towards mid and 2 players see how much space they can take. And then you don't necessarily have to follow up on it. You know, you really want to try and confuse the CT side. I don't think they've done that.
Yeah.
So it's not quite good enough, to be honest, and really does show.
Yeah, exactly that. We'll have to see how things pan out in that second half, but ultimately, fantastic at the moment from eLITenergy.
Seems like it might be over prematurely here on Dust 2. We were wanting a big battle at the end of this grand final, of course, and the regional final spot on the cards. Johnny Speeds have been playing so well throughout this cup, and it seems like they have met a bit of a match in an unexpected opponent. I think maybe the case for them, a team that they're not ready for, that they're sort of nervous against. And you might say, you know, every 3 in 5 games that they play are going to go the way of Johnny Speeds, 9 in 10, you know, numbers like this really. But I think that it's just not the case here today because they aren't ready for the eLITenergy style. And we just see it all the time, man. The lower level teams really can just catch you off because they're a lot better than you expect. You know, you look at their rank and you just go, it should be fine. You know, we're much better than that. They're like 100 ranks below us, but the level from there to where you are is actually not as big as you think. And ultimately, they are able to just catch you off with slightly unorthodox moves and unpredictable nature. And that's happened here again. We'll see. Johnny Speed's got a pistol potentially in their back pocket, and they could close the gap on the CT side. It is always possible.
Yeah, I also think more than anything, like, I think if you played this matchup 10 times, Johnny Speeds would win at 9 of them. Like, yeah. I think this is just a really off day for them. They're just not playing. I've caught this side a decent amount recently. They're just not playing anywhere near the level that I'm used to seeing out from them. And I think also on the flip side, eLITenergy are playing with, like, you know, 110%. Like, I do think Koss is looking excellent. When we've caught Koss recently, he's actually not been as sort of like defiant as he is in this series so far. The first 2 maps have been fantastic. He's averaging like a 1.5 rating after the first 2, and he's might even make it a little bit sweeter with how well he's doing here in this decider. Like, he's had such a fantastic game. Let's see. One has dove down. Yokkab going to reaggress off of that. That'll cost him his life. And this now gets really funky because Kissel shows his cards. And as well, out towards long. Finn makes a move. That's the pistol. That's double digits. Surely for eLITenergy.
Yeah, absolutely has to be, right? I think they're going to try and give it their best go here. And you never know with the Julies, but it just feels like things are now fully spiraled. Fully out of your hands. Double swings, triple swings coming in. Deep gets one, but that's all they're going to find for the pistol on the Johnny Speed side. And it just looks like this one is going to be over before it even gets going, which is crazy to say. Johnny Speeds have allowed eLITenergy to just get in their head and overwhelm them. And ultimately believe that they can be the winners. They can be the team in control, which I think is just crazy. Again, totally unexpected, but a welcome surprise. I think it's safe to say.
No, agreed.
Force buy, though, is on the cards. And we'll see. Johnny Speed's desperately trying to claw some rounds back.
Not impossible. Just highly improbable. But you lose this force buy. And it further adds to us feeling like this is all but over. Cross towards A. No one's on the site itself to deny. So it's going to make it already a little bit harder.
A lot of damage done, but they get the first kill. They do get that bomb plant, and it's kind of unconfirmed damage. They're just immediately going to save here. Johnny Speeds. The hightail peak run back is what's going to be required. Easier said than done. It is safe to say, but it's kind of their only option. And yeah, they are just looking to run things back as much as they possibly can here. Curious to see if there's any legs left, or if it is just going to be this quick finish, man. And I really do fear the latter.
Yeah, I think this feels all but done. Of course, you get a second crack at it, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. And also because this round, which, you know, is technically now a bonus round as you bring it back in towards the next, like, you're building up so much money on that T side. And even something like this, right? First, tack pause. I said this back when it was like 6 rounds on the board. It was like 6 to, I think at that point it was 6-1, then turned 6-2. And I said, like, I want to burn a few of these pauses. Like, I actually want to start running a fight back. And Johnny Speeds, you know, you're calling your first pause at 11-3 down. Like, this doesn't exactly feel like you're too motivated.
Yeah, the head in the game, not really. And it can kind of happen as well, these teams that just spam out the games. I wonder if we have a little look. I don't know, I mean, the recent results, most of it has just been playing in ECL, so it's not like they've been super, super busy. Maybe got knocked out of CCT pretty early by Ursa, which is a team that you might expect them to beat. So there could just be some annoyance this week and whatnot, and it's one of the things, you know, Tier 2 team, they got a bit more in terms of the resources. Oh. Damn, Nork, that's nice. That's nice. But, yeah, those tilting games and whatnot, something like CCT you might expect to be making a deep run, and they've done anything but. 16, not going to be good enough for them. But ECL, this was a farmer, you know what I mean? Johnny Speeds, out and out overdog, should have been taking it. And it's just not the case. Good death. Maybe locking it in there with the double spray down. We caught the tail end of that. YoCab will be the last one here. 1 versus 3. And I think just going to look to go for this. They'll be buying rifles in the next anyway.
Yeah, he's spot on. Can he even clear this close corner? No, he won't. 12-2-3. Map series grand final point, eLITenergy. I just feel for this Johnny Speed side, surely they will end up internally questioning themselves, like, how did we fall so flat in this final? Clear out and out favourites and have played nothing like it. Better on towards that second map, sure, but what happened in the first, and my god, what has happened here in the third? At least an opener for Nork.
Yeah, I think they'll be certainly kicking themselves in a big way. And it just seems map pool maps they're not as confident on against an opponent that they don't really know. Seems to be the kryptonite, you know, like, not much to fall back on, strategically starved for ideas, even though I would say just, like, individually, they really do have some heavier hitters than you would expect from the side of eLITenergy, but they've just been allowed to run through them, particularly this Cos Kidder, who's looking very, very good. But as you say, in this round, a man advantage that they would hope to capitalize on. Fully consolation rounds at the moment. Long road before we start believing in any kind of comebacks. Gonna go bursting in. Despite being a man down. Can they get the better of the A defense? Not looking too likely. Lekro to back up. YoCab does fall, though. You'd figure Lekro, YoCab able to work off each other, get a trade around each other. But no. YoCab falling all too easily. And it's into the 2 versus 2 now. Oh, man, with Cos in the unlikely spot towards long. And it's all left to heap. And this just sums it up, doesn't it? As they're unable to hold on to the A-bomb site with the man advantage. Knew they were coming. Maybe the MP7 can get it done. Trying to take this fight at range. I mean, he's landing the shots. He doesn't have the kit.
M4.
Moves on to the M4. But Cos keeps it clean, lands the head, and will take this third cup in ECL Season 51. I am so surprised, but they're able to do it in the 2-1 fashion. A great grand final win coming in from eLITenergy, the unlikely underdog, all the way through that lower bracket to take out Johnny Speeds, who is our clear favourite. I mean, congratulations to them.
Yeah, I mean, this eLITenergy side were easily one of the most unknown teams in this tournament, without a shadow. Even the teams that are ranked below them I know a few more of those players, and it just, you know, an absolute credit to kind of the level that you get out from eLITenergy, and kind of the proof of why these cups are so important, because there is these hidden gems that come through. Like Cost had an absolute stunner of a series there. I think as well, you know, even throughout the kind of the games that we saw, though, I thought Keegan looked really sharp on the orb. Like, this is an interesting side. I definitely want to keep an eye out for. And winning this now for eLITenergy, I wonder how this opens the doors for them heading in towards the second half of the year, right? Of course, this is kind of the last few tournaments for really before kind of the major cycle really starts to get underway, or a few kind of like tier 2 kind of tournaments, right? So maybe this sort of something kind of pretty sick for them. But of course, here is the bracket after all this was conceded and finished. And you know, the storyline that we had coming in towards this final, Johnny Speed did not drop a map all the way through to the grand final, and then they dropped the two important ones that lose them that grand final, and they'll be kicking themselves.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. I think they absolutely will be. And, you know, we touched on it towards the end there, late timeouts and things like this. It just felt like their heads were not in it. They maybe felt like they'd done the hard work, and the first map goes against them pretty close. You might argue, you know, it's still a winnable scoreline on that first map, and yeah, it obviously just gets to them. I think they allowed eLITenergy to get in their heads, and a little bit annoying to play against, a little bit unpredictable, and they were clearly, on the first map especially, they were really flustered on that CT side, just getting caught by like the simplicity of it. Very simple, very quick, especially for Inferno, and yeah, just a lot of players falling in rounds where it's like you're not in a good spot and you've just completely been blindsided. You don't get a single kill, and they'd have a run of 4 or 5 rounds of that happening. So yeah, from there it just felt like things were a little bit annoying. Overpass, totally the home map. They know exactly what they're doing, and that shows. But come back onto another map that they're not quite comfortable on, and again they like lose a round, lose an opening engagement, and I think that the mental and the comms just break down.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I really am impressed with eLITenergy, but for Johnny Speeds, like, some serious question marks have to come through. Heavy favourites in this qualifier, if not this this final in particular, and just such an underperformance from them. And it just felt like they were their own worst enemy. They checked out, they got tilted, and like, you know, I'll say it again, and I brought it up as when the game was happening, like pulling your first timeout in map 3 of a grand final at 11-3, like, it is, for me, like, whether it is or not, like, it just looks like proof of a side who had given up right before things even begun, and that's never a good sign. Like, you know, you kind of had a couple of rounds in that first half from 6-1 up to kind of 6-3. It felt like we were starting to chip away at the deficit, and it just felt like they never believed. So eLITenergy, credit to them. You know, giant killers for a lot of their run through as well. They took down actually some pretty decent teams like Hazard. I've caught them before. They're actually not a bad side by any means as well. That TNC side, we kind of expected something out of them, and they took them down. Ents Academy, which is now Ents' main team, they decimated them. And then, of course, Quentry yesterday, and that was kind of a big one. We were like, oh, Quentry, clear favourites, play all the tier 2 tournaments right now. Should be light work. Anything but. So, absolutely fantastic stuff. We can take a look at the prize pool just to round out the show here as well. Of course, that prize pool that I play for, the lion's share of 25,000 USD, 12,000 of course going to eLITenergy, 5,000 to Johnny Speed. But that main thing, it is punching their spot in towards the EU Season 51 finals, and you know, again, like, just so deserved. And I'm really interested to see now what they can do at those finals. You know, they've already proven the giant killers here, and I'd be interested to see kind of how things you know, look for them. I actually can't remember off the top of my head who even won Cup 1 and 2. And unfortunately,
I think TDK Cup 1.
Yes, that was right. Yeah, Axel's
Cup 2 is a good question, though. We casted that final as well.
Unfortunately, like, it doesn't even show.
Fully been forgotten.
It doesn't link on
yeah, you got to get on the Liquipedia.
That's smart.
I'm trying to type
Cup
fast.
2. Cup 2. Here you go. Oh no, Season 50. Damn. No,
I got it. Namiga.
Ooh. Hey.
Cup 2. All right.
Yes. No. You are right.
Yeah.
They took down one win. So,
yeah, they did.
Actually, kind of spicy having those teams already kind of in. I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out. But credit to eLITenergy. They've done really, really well. We've got an MVP off the back of that as well. I don't think it'll be that much of a surprise. It was a man that we had high expectations for. Didn't get to see it yesterday, but my God, did we say a 1.66 rating for Cos. An absolute barn burner of a series. Averaging just shy of 110 ADR across the series is ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he looks really good. Maybe it was Keegan that stole the limelight from him in the Quentry series, and we wanted to highlight him again. He also has a decent series here, for sure. But yeah, Cos just stands up as being one of the ones to watch in this team. Maybe him and Keegan, you might say, but Cos feels slightly more consistent and just has that higher ceiling. Really, really farming against a higher level team and looking really, really good on Dust 2 in particular. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed by what I've seen, and indeed, certainly got to be a player that you keep your eye on in this squad. He's had a bit of experience already. He's at 23, so still relatively young, and we might see him move up into some of the bigger teams within the Tier 2 space. But that is going to be us done for this cup, of course. There's still one left to go, and a big one on the cards, as we're kind of predicting that it's going to be pretty stacked. You know, all these teams that have not yet got a good chance, a good shoe-in for the regional finals, which of course leads to that Pro League spot in the end, are going to be looking at that cup, and they are going to be 100% confident with their ability and maybe the fact that they could take it. Johnny Speeds, probably going to be one of them. Pipped to the post here. Yeah, I think so. I mean, they were pipped to the post here. I think they came like 6th in Cup 1. Yeah. So, yeah, really, really damn close. But, yeah, like I say, that is going to be us done for today. So thank you very much for watching the grand final here. Very excited to bring it to you, and hopefully we get a bit more of the underdog action coming into Cup number 4. We'll see you there. And then maybe just understanding being very unpredictable themselves, which I think is quite clever. Good flash here. Bad spray down. It's a team kill, though, to get it done, and that chaos might just have done enough then.
There's a step. We'll poke his head off. Now. Oh, and lines them up as well. Cheeky. The flash over is fantastic, and he does make the most of it with a kill. Hey, will come round. He's looking for more. The pistol of Keegan, which he does so well on.
And Keegan's trying to swap guns if he can, but they are not expecting Yocab up close and personal.
Okay.
There's 3 players on A. They're looking to play the forward positions. It's the push necessarily needed. It sort of forces Kissel to strike, but there's still a player, Optimus, if they can even get past Keegan here. He will go down. Here's the steps coming in. That really bakes him out, he feels, but he's just biding time, isn't he, really, for the bomb, for his support. There's a smoke for that bomb. There is a kit in the hand of Heath. That's about all they can really hope for. Can he stay on it here? Oh, Kissel trying, but failing to find him. Oh, my good. Around, they're going to move through the fire. Just get caught off. Keegan's still here, though. He's lost all support and rolling through. Spotted now, and surely not long for the world. Despite being a man down. Can they get the better of the A defense? Not looking too likely. Lecro to back up. Yocab does fall, though. Oh, man, with Cos in the unlikely spot towards long. Doesn't have the kit. Moves on to the M4, but Cos keeps it.